everybody. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to hear the presentation of the Toy Stories survey results and reactions. I'm Elizabeth, mother of 2 rebel girls and director of COFACE Families Europe. And I will co-host this webinar with Isabel, basketball fan, penguin lover, and COFACE communication officer.
Hey, also from my side, nice to see you all here virtually, or not see you actually. That's my first point. We can't see or hear you, but as many of you already have done it, please use the chat function for so to communicate with us and the other panelists. Be sure to click all panelists and all attendees. We also have English subtitles available. You can click on the bottom where it says closed captions and then view subtitles if you want them. There's also a link which we will share with you in the chat where you can also see the subtitles. And shall we see who's here with a short poll?
So we find out who we're talking to. Yeah. Would you want me to?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Right. A little poll to see who is with us today. So who are you? National public sector, European public sector, NGO, industry? Do we have health professionals with us? Consumer organizations, toy enthusiasts, education professionals, parents, and academics. There's probably others as well. Apologies, but we only had like 10 options to put in here. I know we have quite a sort of wide range. Okay, now you're just showing off. Industry, parent, and toy enthusiast. Okay. You should tell everybody that. And for that, you can do all panelists and attendees. Mr. Vallejo. Okay. 2 more seconds before we end the polling. Hello, Kmop. Hello, Greece. Τι κάνεις καλά? Καλά, καλά. Okay, I think we'll end it. One last vote. Okay, here we go. Can you see them? So this is useful for the speakers, I think, and the panelists to get an idea of who is with us today. So voila. Okay, that's quite a mix. Quite a mix. Thank you for being with us. It's great to see different profiles. And let me introduce you now to our panelists. We have our very own Pascual Martinez, who is the author of the Toy Stories study and COFACE Policy and Advocacy Officer. And he'll start this webinar with an overview of the survey results. Then we will ask our distinguished guests to react with some reflections and suggestions on how this data could be used. For this, we have Annemie Driskens, COFACE Families Europe President. Welcome, Annemie. We have Catherine van Reet, Director General of Toy Industries of Europe. Hi, Catherine. Thank you for joining us. We have Rebecca Allen, Senior Policy Manager from the World Federation of Advertisers. Thank you for joining us, Rebecca. And we will have soon, shortly, hopefully, Irena Musova, Director for Equality and Union Citizenship of DG Justice and Home Affairs of the European Commission. But we're having some issues with Zoom and the Commission system, so bear with us. Hopefully she'll join us in a bit. Isabel, any tips before we get started?
Yes, so for you to have a great experience, we always recommend to be close to the Wi-Fi router if you can. And also, if you have questions now or even during the presentations or the reactions, please put your questions in the Q&A function. All the panelists can see them and can answer your questions then. And if you are talking about this on social media, if you can, please use the hashtag #ToysAndDiversity. And yeah, tag us if you like, and hope we have a discussion also a bit on social media now or later. So I think that's it.
That it? Okay, and so if anyone wants to chat, it would be nice if you share it with everybody, because at the moment you're chatting to all panelists. But if you select all panelists and attendees, everybody will see you, if that's what you want. So I think now the next 30 minutes is going to be an opportunity for Pascual to give us an overview of the main trends highlighted in the study, and you'll find everything on our website tomorrow morning. And I think Pasquale had a little question to you guys to understand who out there actually is amongst the 2,000 plus Toy Story respondents. So I'll do a quick poll. Do we have any of the famous Toy Story? Yes, we do. Yeah. How exciting. We're honored. Sorry, I'm the only one who can see these results. Okay, I'll share them in a second. A few more votes. Okay, we have just under 50 people tuned in right now. That's really great. Okay.
We also have Irena joining us. I just saw her.
Yay. Right, here we go. Pasquale, what do you think? We have a few.
Quite a few, yes. Quite a few. It's 30%, 3 out of 10 attendance.
Great.
So I think it's great, I mean, to have this amount of people that responded, that completed the survey.
Well, listen, the floor is yours. Irena, welcome. Irena.
Hello. Nice.
Hello, Irena.
I can hear you. And I can see you. Fantastic.
Okay.
Welcome,
Fantastic.
welcome.
Finally.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Listen, Pasquale, I think the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, do you want to share the screen and
yes,
tell us more?
for sure. Oh, again, I have the same problem.
Display settings?
I have the same problem as always. It's display setting.
Go back to the demo.
Here.
Go back. Start slide.
Perfect. Okay, I'm really sorry for this little technical problem, but I'm with all yours. So thank you very much, Elizabeth and Isabel, for your nice presentation, and thank you all of you, both the speakers and the attendants, to give me just some strokes about our survey, the survey that we did about toys and diversity. So just let me give you a brief understanding. Most of you knows us. COFACE, we are a pluralistic NGO in 23 EU member states, and our values are non-discrimination, human rights, social inclusions, and we represent, advocate for the rights and interests for all types of family. For my presentation, I think I have followed the same pattern as the report that you will have available, that will be available tomorrow morning. So first of all, I will go to a background to the survey, why we decided, to do this survey. Then the profile of the respondent. Third point, attitudes, concerns, and perceptions of toys and stereotypes. Fourth point, toy shop organization. Is there a need for more diversity? Last, then we will, before concluding, we will do about toy marketing, looking at stereotypes and beyond. And I will conclude my presentation with potential solutions and challenges. So in my presentation, as you will see tomorrow as well, we have put very different toy stories. What is toy stories? Is that we ask as well the respondent to give us some comments, to show us their toy stories. So you will see during the presentation many toy stories, different. Some of them matches COFACE's values, others don't, from different gender people, age, and nationalities. So, for example, look at what this male from France said. I used to have Action Mans, my sister Barbie dolls. I had the blue toy, she had the pink toy, I had the castle, she had the princess castles. That didn't stop us from swapping toys and playing with them by mixing them, and I had more girly toys myself. But the split was real and became more pronounced with age. Concerning the ethnicity of the toys, the Playmobiles were far too all white. Then, a female from Finland said, all children must be what they want, including the so-called stereotypical views on girls of boys, if they want to. Last but not least, a female from Germany said, when I asked in the Playmobil store if they had black figurines, the saleswoman replied, yes, of course. For example, the chimney sweeps, they are always black. Unfortunately, this was no jokes. And of course, the chimney sweep was white with black clothes. She had not understood at all what I wanted. And this was not an isolated incident. So let me first of all explain to you all the background of the survey. Most of you know that since 2016, when COFACE Families Europe published a European study on toy catalog making or breaking stereotypes, we have been running an annual social media campaign on toys and diversity to promote equal opportunities and to highlight gender, disability, and ethnic stereotypes in toy production, marketing, and shops. This successful campaign has raised awareness among toy producers, advertisers, retailers, and consumers about the need for more toy diversity as a reflection of the pluralism of society. Therefore, we decided on the 20th of November, because it's the Universal Children's Day, to launch the first Europe-wide survey on toys and diversity, developed and translated by COFACE members into 13 languages. The data collection took 5 weeks until Christmas Day, and the survey gathered more than 2,000 answers from all EU member states and beyond. We had 3 main issues to do the survey. The survey contains some 20 questions, and we want to analyze specific issues to the world of toys, such as how consumers and buyers are confronted when purchasing toys, then the way toy shops are organized and how this is perceived by consumers, and last but not least, the role of media and marketing on toys. COFACE is not a research agency. This report is not and does not pretend to be a scientific one. What we want is to keep its finger on the pulse of society and to give respondents to have the chance to express their beliefs, even if they do not match COFACE wants. Well, let me now pass to the profile of the respondent. So, a little bit more of half of the respondents were between 26 and 45 years old. A landslide majority of the respondents, as you can see, were women, and 9 out of 10 respondents came from 10 countries. For a question of representative samples, and as you will see in the table that I will show across my presentation, we have decided to divide the respondent by age. So you will see below and above 46 years old. In terms of gender comparisons, both groups are homogeneous, 85% women and 50% men. Then you will see that the respondent that toy consumption is mainly for and linked to family environment. Half of the respondents of our survey declared themselves parents of the children they mostly buy toys for. And the second most chosen option in the survey, with almost 30% of the respondents, is relative, sibling, an uncle, a cousin. Furthermore, and I think this is important as well to underline, some respondents also use toys in a professional setting, teachers, physiotherapists, psychologists, and I think this is interesting, very interesting. A fourth of the respondents declared buying toys either often or very often. This trend is the same by gender, but not by age. younger generation tend to buy more often toys than older ones. And finally, almost 30% of the respondents below 46 years old declare to often or very often buy toys, while only a fifth of the respondents who are above 46 years old declare to do so. What about now the attitudes, the concerns, and the perception of toys and stereotypes by the respondents? We have here two interesting toy stories. A female from Germany, aged between 36 and 45 years old, declared, "What influences me most when buying a toy for a child? That the toy is made of natural material that is not harmful to health, under which conditions it was produced. No people are exploited, no toxic substances are produced, the environment is not polluted, and how useful it is for the age, the current development of the child." Another one, a male from Belgium, said, "My preference for purchasing a toy are the potential impact on the child's learning and development." What is interesting to underline in our survey is that few respondents when buying a toy think in terms of the gender. That is, people do not buy toys for boys or toys for girls. Less than 5% of the respondents consider this option as an influence when buying a toy. There are, in fact, two great influences for respondents when buying a toy. The first one, and that was 80%, answered by 80% of the respondents, is the child's preference, followed by the price. So it's interesting to see as well that the economic aspect is, when purchasing a toy, is really relevant. However, the results of the survey indicate that some stereotypes still prevail regarding the gender of the child. In other words, some toys are still considered more suitable depending on the gender of the child, and that irrespective of the gender and the age of the respondent. As you can see here, you can see in this graph the influence on consumers when buying a toy for a child. You can see that in the total of survey and irrespective of age and gender, the most important are child's preference, well above the rest, and then the price. So it's an important. And then you will see that the other two most respondents were labeling the information of the toy and advice from family and friends. The answers of the survey as well indicate that stereotypes linked to toys seem to prevail more for boys than for girls. This is something very relevant. And the results indicate a tendency towards thinking it is more acceptable seeing a girl wanting a toy from a boy section than a boy wanting a toy from a girl section. And let me read you this toy story about a young female from Greece, aged between 26 and 35 years old. "I think it's more acceptable for a girl to play with boy toys than vice versa. I also realized this from the way I responded to the survey. Even though I tried to use different toys with children in my own environment, I feel that I'm having trouble and that it's something I want to shake off." As you can see, when we ask if the people will feel uncomfortable with a girl-boy wanting a toy from a boy or girl section, you can see that irrespective from age and gender, people, if massively, they are not at all uncomfortable, but they are more uncomfortable with boys. And you can see that the boys always are, 10 points below. Their answers of not at all for boys, it's always 10 points below, irrespective of the age and gender of the respondent. The survey as well shows the potential of toys to promote the respect of disability and ethnic diversity in society. First of all, more than 4/5 of the respondents either agreed or strongly agreed with the idea that making children with disability visible in toy adverts and producing more toys adapted to their needs could change the way society looks at them. Moreover, almost 95% of the respondents of the survey declare not having whatsoever inconvenience if their child, grandchild, etc., would receive a doll or figurine of a different ethnic background. So we have arrived to the fourth point. Toy shop organization. Is there a need for more diversity? Regarding toy shop organization, boy and girl sections in toy shops are not helpful for the majority of respondents. So we ask respondent, and based on a scale from 0, which is useless, to 10, extremely useful, almost 2/3 of the respondents consider that the boys and girls section of toys are not useful. What's more, 2 out of 5 respondents consider that this organization is useless. They mark the option 0. So 40% of the respondents mark the option 0, and 2/3 between 0 and 4. However, some gender and age difference appear here. In terms of gender, 2/3 of female respondents mark options between 0 and 4, and therefore consider this toy shops organization not really useful. But only half of the male respondents consider this option. So, as I said, half of the male respondents consider that this gender organization by retailers is at least somehow useful. By age, we have as well important difference because respondents below 46 years old consider the boys and girl organization less useful than those above 46 years old. More than 2/3 of the former mark alternative from 0 to 4, more than 10 points than the later. And what about now if we look at toy marketing? We want to look at stereotypes and beyond. So let me read 2 different toy stories concerning toy marketing. A young female from Belgium, aged between 26 and 35 years old, declared, "The toy itself is neutral. It is the marketing around the toy that is not neutral. The only difference between a Ken figurine and an action man is the marketing that is done around it." Then, a female from Spain, aged 36 and 45 years old, declared, "It is not only advertisement that creates barriers to more inclusive toys. Adults need to change their mentality too. They have been conditioned into thinking girls play with a certain kind of toy and boys with a different kind. Children that don't fit into those 2 boxes are looked at differently." So let's see what the respondent answered concerning toy marketing. On toy marketing, as you can see, a majority of respondents believe that advertising reinforces stereotypes and that more neutral and inclusive advertising could reduce stereotypes. First of all, 9 out of 10 respondents either agreed or strongly agreed with the assumption that toy advertising accentuates stereotypes. Then 80% of the respondents do consider that more neutral toys and toy advertising would reduce stereotypes, but women and younger respondents to a higher degree than men and older respondents. So if you see the table, the question was, do you think that making children with disabilities, you can have that 80% of the respondents consider so, strongly agree, or agree. But if you can see, women and younger generation to a higher degree than men and older generation. And then good, more neutral and toy advertising reduces stereotypes. The same pattern shows as almost 80%, 4 out of 5 respondents consider so, but you can see that women and younger generation in a higher degree than men and older generation. So I think it's important now to look at the future and to see what are the potential solutions and challenges that lay ahead concerning toys and stereotypes. I have here extracted 2 interesting quotes. The first one from a young female from the Netherlands, age 18 or 25, who said, "My little brother used to play with a doll with a different skin color than we do. It is ridiculous that children are sometimes approached about their toy preferences. That's not for girls, or pink is a girl's color. Toy shops and producers can take the leads by subtly and gradually changing the boundary between so-called boys, girls toys. I think this can best be done subtly without a lot of fuss in the media." Then, a male from Spain, aged 36 and 45, declared, "Children themselves are the main barrier. They tend to prefer to play, for example, with a Playmobil or doll with no physical disability." So what the respondent consider about the potential solutions, and challenges? The survey included a question regarding the main barriers to the acceptance of more inclusive toys. 7 different alternatives were offered to respondents who had the opportunity to express other options through the answer other. Each respondent had to tick the 3 answers which best matched their opinion. So 7 alternatives, and respondents had to tick 3. The 2 more relevant, the 2 answers that were more ticked by respondents were society and media and advertisers. Seem to be to respondents the main barriers to a greater acceptance of inclusive toys, irrespective of age, of gender and age, as more than a half of respondents marked both options. 61% of the respondents marked society and 56% media and advertising. Let me show you this table. As you can see, there were the 4 more marked options were society, media and advertisement, toy companies, and parents and family. But the respondent declared 2 options were marked more than a half, as you can see by half of the respondent, that's society and media and advertisement. And as you can see, irrespective of age and gender. What we can see, and I think it's quite interesting, is that, for example, women as well mark in a higher degree media and advertisement than men, and in a higher degree as well society as well. Whereas men tend to value, for example, more parents and family. The survey included too a question regarding the potential solutions to promote toys that are more inclusive. 7 different alternatives were offered to respond. So it is the same pattern as we did for the main barriers, who had the opportunity to express other options through the answer other. And as well, each respondent had to tick the 3 answers which best matches their thought. Here, the result of the survey clearly highlight family responsibility, 65% on the one hand, and the toy and advertising industry, 65% on the other. The 2 most selected solutions for promoting inclusion of toys are, by respondent, are awareness of the family and more neutral and inclusive marketing of toys. Let me show you the table. Here we got that we know that there were the 4 options that were more responded by respondent. There was as well more diversity in toy production and laws to regulate toy advertising. But you can see that that 2 lay well above the rest, and that's awareness of family and more neutral and inclusive marketing for toys. But this is very interesting as well to see that women, for example, tend to promote more the marketing for toys, whereas men tend more to value the awareness of family. And I think this is as well the same concerning the by age as well. Then, before concluding, let me read this this quote from a female from Croatia, age 26 and 35 years old. The child often just says that some toys are for boys. She's a girl. I never told her that toys are divided into toys for girls and toys for boys. I often ask her how she knows that it's just a toy for a boy, and she remains confused. She started to divide colors into those for toys and those for girls. The influence of the media and society on the upbringing of children is enormous. We are not even aware of it. So with this last toy story, my conclusion is coming to the end. I just wanted, to give you some strokes, a few words about the survey that, as Elizabeth remember at the beginning of the presentation, tomorrow you will have the full report will be available, but that these are some approaches, some of the big key findings that we wanted, to show you and to interact with you. So I'm at your disposal afterwards if you want, to react on my presentation, or if you have some questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pasquale, for digesting those 2,000 plus toy stories and giving us the general trends. I'm going to ask immediately our guests to give a sort of a brief reflection and reaction to the study, the first trends that Pasquale has just presented. Can I ask you, Annemie, our COFACE president, to say a few words about the study and how you think we could use it?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and I'm happy to participate in this webinar. And I would like to look at the findings that Pasquale presented through the COFACE lens. And together with our members, you know that we aim to build a child and a family-friendly environment, and we will build more inclusive societies. So we promote diversity, equal opportunities, and we tackle stereotypes at all levels. Promoting diversity for us, it is not only about gender or about the different skin color or about disabilities. It is about all those things. And if we listen to the news today, it is more relevant than ever, promotion of diversity. So we have, all of us, huge responsibility in the promotion of this diversity. And we would like to take this opportunity to start breaking the stereotypes. And this breaking of stereotypes should start from in early childhood. In early childhood, we all know that children have the right to play, and it's crucial for their development. They need to play, they need to explore the world via the toys, through the toys. And it is their fundamental right. It is also the UN Convention that obliges everybody to allow children to play. So, and therefore, COFACE has chosen toys to promote this diversity. And as Pasquale said, since 2016, we are annually campaigning to bring in this topic and to promote toys and diversity. And this year, you heard, we invited people to tell their stories. And it was thanks to the help of our members that our questionnaire was translated into 13 languages. So it helps us really to give a clear picture from Europe and beyond. And from the first results that Pascal presented, it is clear that buying toys is a family matter. So it is a topic that matters for COFACE. It matters for families as toy consumers. And it's also clear that they want to have their say. They want to tell their stories. As adults, we as COFACE, we thought it is important also for us to stick to rules. And therefore, we built a compass with toys and diversity principles. Principles that we raised during the years since 2016, and principles that people can be convinced of, principles that offer guidance. And one of our key principles is let children decide with what they want to play, and let them also play to be whomever they want to be. So we need really to respect the choice of the child, and we do not need to limit their imagination. It is definitely also good to see in the survey that the respondents, they put the preference of their child as the first choice when they buy toys. And they also say that the gender is not a topic of their concern. But I would like to make some reflections on the findings and on this specifically. It is true that kids are not afraid to show what they like. They do not pretend that they are enjoying to play with the toy or having fun. But we should be aware that children's choice and their preference is very often heavily influenced by friends or by the toy promotion in media. So I would refer to the quote of the women from Croatia, where Pascal ended. The influence of media and society on the upbringing of our children is enormous. We are not even aware of it, this lady said. We think that it's good to be aware, and we want, as COFACE, to raise awareness about the impact of the media on the preference of children and their choices. Another point that I wanted to highlight is that respondents, they admit that toys are neutral, that the gender is not a topic for them. But yeah, parents still hesitate, it seems also from the survey, parents still hesitate more to let boys playing with girls' toys, although they want to shake it off and they want to have more neutral toys, but it's still there, the gender influence. The respondents, they give us also a clear message about the fact that representation matters, and they ask also for more inclusive marketing of toys, and they ask us to have a fairer representation of the diversity of children. So I think our campaign must go on, listening to those response from those people. And we will use these data, the survey, to fit in our campaign in 2020. And we will share the stories via our website, via our channels. And reading and hearing the survey explanation by Pascal, I think the response gave us also an idea for further action, because they say the price is the second biggest influence when buying a toy. So I think the next focus should be on the affordability of toys, to make it affordable, the toys, for every family, for all families, and also for those who are in vulnerable situations. So every child has toys. Also, listening to the 2,000 plus respondents, we believe it is a shared responsibility to drive the change and to further boost the diversity and the equal opportunities between girls and boys. And COFACE Families Europe, as president, I can say, we hope really to get everyone involved. We want to engage parents and families. They responded to our survey, and we want to engage them for our further actions. Because as a parent, we have a crucial role. Parents are the first educators. but also parents are the consumers of the toys. And we all know that consumers can move markets. So we want really to engage with parents to do so. We want also further engage with the sector, with the toy industry and with the advertisers. They are key players in this debate. And we want also to link up further with the European Commission to look for further actions and promotion actions and also maybe for legislation. And I'm very happy that all of those partners, the key partners, are today here with us online in this webinar. So I'm curious to hear their reflections, and they will tell us more what actions they are preparing, they have in mind. Just want to conclude that true inclusive equality starts in childhood, and we are convinced that toys and advertising play a very crucial role in this. So, inspired by the Toy Stories, I think COFACE will continue raising awareness, and we hope to do this in an open dialogue, a constructive dialogue with all the concerned partners.
Thank you very much, Annemie. We have one question. I think if you have your questions, put them in the Q&A and we'll take them at 4 o'clock, if that's okay for you. Right, I would like to invite Irena Musova, so Director for Equality from the DG Justice and Home Affairs of the European Commission, to say a few words on this. How do you see this study? Can it be useful?
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you, Annemie and Pasquale, for having me and for doing such important work in order to enlighten us of where we stand with the toys. You know that I'm working in the field of equality, and there is something which comes without saying. So when you don't have a robust data, so the inequality doesn't exist. And equally here, without your data, it would be very difficult to raise awareness about how stereotype can influence life choices since a very early age. And I was particularly interested in some of the facts as presented by Pascal, when you said that 2/3 of respondents consider that the boys and girls sections of toy shops are not useful. This is very interesting and quite important fact. Also, and I think that it is differentiated by the sex, because you said that the awareness of the family, 65%, and more neutral and inclusive marketing of toys, also 65%, are key for promoting inclusive toys. But here I see as well a difference of both sex, because the awareness of the family is more concluded or voted by male respondent, while the marketing and impact on our choices is more reflected in the female responses. Quite interesting as well, because maybe for the other speakers speaking from the publicity point of view, this could be quite interesting. And also the role of the society and media and the advertisers. I think this is extremely important for us to know. What the overwhelming majority of the respondents say, 80%, that more neutral toys and tourist advertising would reduce stereotypes, mostly women and younger respondents again. So it only shows, and Amani already said it, we have a role to play, because we know so how important is to address those stereotypes which are coming in native, because we know that the boys and girls, when they are born, so they are born without any stereotypes. So those are features which are coming through the society exposure. And we also know that the sex stereotyping can limit the developments of natural talents and natural abilities of boys and girls, women and men. They are having impact on their educational and professional experiences, and as well on their life opportunities in general. You know, so how low is the number of women or girls studying in the internet technologies and STEM studies, and this is also something which is emanating from the kind of the stereotypes, because maths are more for men and the soft professions are more for women, and this comes already inherited from the perceptions of their role in society through they play with the toys. Annemie invited me in a way to say what we are doing in the European Commission, so thank for that. I'm not sure that everybody watching is aware about our gender equality strategy we have presented for the period 2020-2025, because the gender stereotypes is one of the very important aspects tackled in our strategy as root causes of gender inequality and affects in all areas of society. Because theoretical expectation based on fixed norms for women and men, girls and boys, limit their aspiration, choices and freedom, and therefore we have to combat them in a way. They are often combined with other stereotypes, not only gender, but also those based on race or ethnic origin. It could be religion or belief, disability, age or sexual orientation. And this can even reinforce such a possible negative impact of stereotypes. My personal story, I'm a mother of two girls, and you might be surprised, but of course they've been playing with Barbies, but the most famous and most valuable Barbie for them was actually a black Ken and one Barbie without one leg. And they've been fighting all the time for those preferred toys. Despite they are not so mainstream toys, I would say. What Annemie also said is that we have to work on the awareness raising. I'm very happy that a part of our strategy for the post-2020 is a very wide communication campaign combating gender stereotypes. We are currently working on it. We would like to tackle all spheres of life and to approach it with the intersectional approach. We would like to focus on youth engagement, and we would like to work together with the member states. But your study offers us as well other fields of possible engagement, because I think that advertisement industry, the toys industry, so could be a very good partner. So I would like to already express here our openness to work together with COFACE with them as well. The media and the cultural sectors, I should have mentioned as well, have also a considerable say in shaping people's beliefs, values, and perception of reality. So they would be also our channels on top of the businesses, technology, and creative industries. I would like to mention one campaign which is already working in such a basis. That means the private sector and international organization. I don't know whether you are familiar with UN Women in cooperation with the private sector campaign, which is called Unstereotype Alliance. And they are doing a really great work in raising awareness in the advertising world on the importance of creating messages totally free from gender stereotype. And look, we are also exploring possibilities to look for some kind of synergies to work with them in Europe. We've been publishing a call this year on the 8th of March, which has been called under the Right Equality Citizenship Program. And this call is addressing on gender stereotypes in education and early childhood education and care. We are currently assessing these projects provided from the civil society. We would like to address mainly educational professionals and teachers to help them to avoid gender stereotypes from the early age onward. And we should publish all the results and have started this project during the autumn this year. And of course, we have some other tools which I could mention, like a Creative Europe or music movers in Europe. We can work, and we are considering to work closely with the audiovisual industry as a part of the next media sub-program under the next multi-annual financial framework, because then we can address very important opinion makers like filmmakers, producers, screenwriters, and so on. So I think there is a lot we can do as a European Commission, but I am very happy that we are not alone here, because we have such an important partner as a COFACE, and we have, I believe, a lot of the listening ears on the side of the industry, and we should work together hand in hand in order to limit the inequalities and offer to our boys and girls, to our daughters, our sons, our granddaughters, grandsons, future which will depend on them only and not on the pressing focus of the society or pressing stereotypes, inviting them, so what their choices should be. So as you mentioned in the Croatian example, for example. So I would like to thank you very much for having me. I have a small problem because I will have to disconnect in 10 minutes. So I really apologize for that, but I hope to follow you afterwards as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Irena, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts with us on the study and how it can be useful for the European Commission's work. As you know, we closely monitor the work that you are doing on the gender equality strategy, but equality transversally and intersectionally. So thank you very much, and we will definitely stay in touch, I think, about next steps. I know that many NGOs out there have applied for the under the call on stereotypes in early childhood, so that will be a very interesting one as well. So yeah, so you have to slip away at 4. Feel free to, no problem, and let me say goodbye to you already. And I would like to ask now Catherine Van Reet from Toy Industries of Europe to share her thoughts with us. Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm gonna get rid of my background because I want
cool.
to show
I
you
kind of
a
liked
few
it.
things. Yeah, I'll get it back later. But I've discovered that if I want to show a piece of paper on Zoom, it's impossible if you have a virtual background. So first, about, 2 words about me. So I'm Catherine, Director General of Toy Industries of Europe, TIE. I participated in the survey. I wasn't able to say that earlier because I'm one of the panelists. I'm also, of course, a toy enthusiast and a parent of a 5-year-old, and I want to apologize in advance if he charges in during the middle of my presentation, which is completely possible. I also want to say a very big thank you for first of all, for doing this survey, for sharing the results, and for including TIE in the panel. A few words about TIE, so Toy Industries of Europe. We like to stress that we represent the reputable toy makers in Europe. And our members are a mixture of toy manufacturers whose names I'm sure you will recognize, like Lego, Hasbro, Mattel, so those are big names. But we also have some smaller companies, like for instance, SES Creative or Berg Toys. But in fact, most of the toy makers in Europe that we represent in an indirect way through our national toy associations. And I know, and Annemie has already said this, you know, I don't need to convince COFACE about the importance of play for children. It helps them to develop into well-rounded adults. It teaches them so many different skills, not just motor skills or logical thinking, but it teaches them about themselves, about their possibilities, about their limits, about the others, about compromise, about learning to see things from other people's views. So it's super important, and it's also fun. You know, it's great that you can learn so much while having a really good time. So play and toys bring fun, not just to kids, but also to the adults around them. That's something that I think nobody can disagree with. So I just said that kids learn about the world through play. So clearly toys can help shape their world's vision. And that of course brings us to the survey we're discussing today. We think this is very important. And welcome the survey. And the aim, you know, of the survey, and I think here is already my first answer to your question: how would we use the data? I think I will use this within our organization to try and convince our members, actually to convince them in the first place that it would be good to do the same kind of survey, but then as a TIE survey, because I think people will find it even more convincing, you know, than if it's done by an external organization. And I think also the results of the survey will resonate better if the people in the different countries really hear, you know, from their own country. And there's a little bit, I think, too much emphasis on Spain and Belgium. You know, there's a few countries that are overrepresented and others are underrepresented. So, you know, I think it would be better if it was a little bit more representative. Not that I think the results would be much different, but just, you know, to present to our members. And I think that's necessary because I do think that such a survey can help to motivate more toy makers to pay attention to this debate and to respond accordingly. At the same time, I also want to recognize the efforts of those who already do have this high on their agenda. And I'm happy to say, I really think it is moving. I understand, you know, your points and I agree, but I really think it's also moving in the right direction. I think there are leaders in the toy industry who are really taking this on and who have been doing so for a while. These leaders can be both big companies, but we see some really good initiatives from some of the smaller ones as well. And actually, in order to make sure that all of their colleagues, all of their peers within the industry know about these positive efforts and to celebrate the positive initiatives, TIE, in fact, this year is launching its first Play for Change Awards. I'll show you, this is why I needed the background. I hope you can see this. This is our website. So, in one of the categories for these awards, we have called empowerment, because we want to recognize here the toys that really break boundaries, so that promote differences by helping children with disabilities or impairments, by promoting equality and inclusion for all, and by smashing gender stereotypes. So I think this really addresses the issue very nicely. So it is something that we are looking at. We want more positive action. But I would like to end my intervention with just giving you a few concrete examples of what is already happening. I only need to look at, you know, for instance, one of the biggest toy companies, Mattel. They are very aware that there is something like the dream gap. And this is a gap that appears with lots of little girls, sadly, when they are around 5 years old. And the dream gap is a way to explain that actually at that age already, they stop believing that they can be anything they want. So they start limiting their potential in their minds because the expectations are different, etc. And in 2018, Mattel actually decided to address this dream gap. And they launched a series of Barbies on the market that explicitly tell these girls, yes, you can. You know, so here, for instance, we have a Barbie engineer, because yes, little 5-year-old girl, you can also dream of becoming an engineer. Or what about an astronaut? This is Mrs. Cristoforetti, who is an Italian astronaut whom Mattel is using as a role model. So completely breaking the stereotype. And I don't know if you know, but a survey in the UK revealed that parents can name male astronauts, but they don't know a single female astronaut. So no wonder there is a dream gap. So I think real kudos to Mattel for taking that on. Again, Mattel have a range of Barbies in all shapes. This is at the back of one of the boxes. In all shapes and sizes and colors and abilities. You see a Barbie in a wheelchair. And I have one of those here, actually, a Barbie in a wheelchair. Whoops. And with a prosthetic leg. So that's really inclusive, and I think that's really encouraging, you know, for children who will feel very different and don't necessarily otherwise see themselves reflected in the offer of toys. And it also, I think, helps other kids to accept, you know, differences. Yeah, and also actually in terms of positive inclusion, it's worth pointing out that there has actually been a black Barbie on the market since 1967. So that's quite a while. From Lego, we also have some very positive examples. As we know that children learn through play, the Lego group has developed a special kind of Lego blocks that teach kids braille. So that's really positive, I think. And if you look at this Lego city box, I don't know if you can see it properly. There are a few stereotypes that are being broken here. There's a dad pushing the stroller. There's a girl playing football. There are 2 ladies painting a fence and mowing the lawn. There's a lady in a suit waiting for the bus going to work. And also in terms of inclusion, there is a little figurine in a wheelchair. So I think, you know, all positive themes. A few traditional role models are being turned upside down. And if you look at this here, this is very recent. This is a still from a Dots commercial. Dots is a new line for Lego, where you can make your own bracelet. And this is a boy advertising this new product. So I think that's something that we wouldn't have seen, you know, a few years ago. And those are examples from really big international companies, but also much smaller companies are taking this on. We've got Lottie Dolls in Ireland, very small company who also feel girls can be engineers. So you've got, I think this is a girl inventor, breaking the stereotype. And here we have, again from Lottie Dolls, their Sinead doll, which is modeled after Sinead Burke, who is a famous Irish personality with dwarfism. So those are just a few examples. There are many more illustrations to show that something positive is happening in the toy world. Having said of all of this, of course, I would like to stress the obvious that toys are only a small part in this, but I do think they are a part. So that's why we also really want, to address this and want to get more companies on the right track. But there is a lot more that needs to be addressed than toys and the way they are promoted. I have to say, personally, I don't feel at the moment, with everything happening, overly positive about the current state of society. But honestly, I can say hand on heart that I do feel positive that the toy industry is moving in the right direction. And I hope that you will agree with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for your thoughts, reflections, and examples. There's quite some feedback in the chat also on the different toy examples you put out there. There are a number of questions coming in, and some are also very relevant to what you've just said now. So I think we'll take them after Rebecca's reaction, because we'll have at least 10-15 minutes for discussion. So thank you to all of you who've put comments in, and we'll come back to them in 5-7 minutes. Thank you, Catherine. Rebecca, from the World Federation of Advertisers, thank you so much for joining us here today as well. We'd be delighted to hear your thoughts on what you think of the study and how we can use it and maybe build bridges also with the advertising industry. The floor is yours, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thank you, Pascal, and all the other speakers. It's been really interesting to follow this discussion. Just to say a few words about myself, I'm not a parent unless a dog counts, but I am a toy enthusiast, and I'm actually the one buying toys for my nieces and nephews. Lego is always a big hit, but I have to admit I usually buy them on the airport, so that says something about my my planning ahead for Christmas and birthdays and so on. But definitely I think this is a fascinating industry and I will completely agree with Catherine that we have such progressive and leading brands in this space when it comes to promoting diversity, progressive gender portrayals, etc. It's really an industry within our membership that is really leading the way, and I'm very proud of that. So I'd like to thank COFACE first of all for a very impressive survey. Over 2,000 consumers responded. These kind of surveys are for us super helpful because it really helps us as we try to raise awareness internally and drive the diversity work that we do as WFA. We want to see more diversity and inclusion in marketing, and we've been working with COFACE for a few years to do so. For those of you who don't know WFA already, we are a non-for-profit global organization representing brand owners such as, the big ones, P&G, Coca-Cola, Unilever, Nike, MasterCard. Really a variety of sectors, but the toy sector is an important one. And the A in WFA stands for advertisers, of course, which means we represent these companies in their capacity as advertisers. And our mission as an organization is very simple. It's to promote better marketing. We do believe that marketing can be better. Better means more effective, good for business, but also more responsible, more sustainable, and also good for society at large. This is really our mission. And promoting diversity and inclusion in marketing has become a top priority for us over the past years, I would say. And for our members, it's really become, I would say, a CMO issue, so a Chief Marketing Officer issue, and really something that is being pushed by very senior people within within our member companies in the toy sector and other sectors as well. I would agree with Catherine that when we talk about diversity in marketing, it's definitely not a toy sector issue, not at all. I think we are right to focus on children, because they're vulnerable to all kinds of impressions around them, and that's how they form their views about what is normal, what is norm in our society. But kids are exposed to so many different kinds of marketing, and now that we talk about the survey, I of course have focused on the marketing aspect of the survey, which was particularly interesting for us. And the survey sends a very clear message to us. Consumers want to see more diverse portrayals in marketing. It's a very strong message that 9 out of 10 respondents feel that toy advertising accentuates stereotypes. And 4 out of 5, so 80%, believe that more neutral toys and toy advertising would reduce stereotypes. I think the message here is that advertising and advertisers have a role to play to move beyond stereotypes and to have a more diversity and inclusion. And this survey comes at a very good and timely, very good time for us, because we are actually really accelerating our efforts in this field, and we can use this type of research internally. Some of you will be familiar with the work that we've done starting 2018 with the Unstereotype Alliance that Irene already mentioned, which is industry driven, but really supported by UN Women, and WFA is a founding member of this alliance. And we really invested in gender stereotypes, in moving away from gender stereotypes in a report that we pushed in 2018. And this year we really wanted to go beyond gender and tackle broader issues that you've identified in your report: race, age, sexual orientation, religion, disabilities, and really look at, you know, what kind of values are we putting forward in marketing. So you can all access this on our website. We issued a guide intended for marketers, giving really practical tips and considerations how they can make their organization and their commercial communications more inclusive. How to make more creative and balanced workplaces with insights from leading brands. We have Mattel figuring in this report as well, together with Coca-Cola, Unilever, IKEA. Really excellent campaigns that really show really progressive and leading brands in this space that can inspire, I think, the entire industry to do the same. And last week, our CEO, Stefan Löke, launched, together with the UN, a statement for the industry to really to tackle racism in industry and in marketing. This was done with the under General Secretary of the UN, who is also the executive director of the UN Women. And what they did was call out to the industry to ask companies to make public the efforts that they are making to achieve and sustain diversity within the company, in their workforce, and in the leadership of their companies, but also in all the communications, commercial communications or other communications that they produce. I think this is really, really powerful. So what can we do with this survey? I think that was one of the core questions here, and I think we need to look forward and see, you know, we don't want this to just be a report sitting around. We want it to come to life, and we want it to be useful, and certainly for WFA we will make use of these results. I think one important conclusion of this report is that most respondents don't see marketing regulation or marketing restriction as the answer. It was really more about making families and the industry and media more sensitive to the issue. it's really about raising awareness, and we would completely agree with this. We already see a change for the better, and Catherine has already demonstrated a few results, but there are much more examples in the reports that I mentioned on our website. But we still have to do more, and I think the most effective way of doing this is to make noise. It's to raise awareness. Is to promote best practice, and learn from the leading brands in this space. We mentioned a few already: Lego, Mattel, Disney is also doing great things. And the TIE awards that Catherine mentioned is a way to do that. It's a way to really highlight best practice and hope that it inspires others. And I also think, and I think my key point would be also to say, there is a business case for more diversity and inclusion in advertising. There's definitely a business case. There's been a lot of research about progressive ads being more effective and more and actually associated with a higher purchase intent with consumers than traditional ads. So it's become, I think, really industry knowledge within our membership that when you champion diversity and inclusion in your marketing, it's good for society, but it's also good for your business. And there's been a lot of studies showing that if a company believes in the authenticity of a brand, believes in its values, then they are more likely to also purchase and be loyal to this brand. So thank you for this survey on behalf of WFA. We will use it internally as yet another proof point that it's definitely the right thing to do for society. It's the right thing to do for your business, and we look forward to continued cooperation with COFACE.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, for sharing that and your impressions and ideas, and the guide as well. I think we could all do with checking out that guide, actually.
You can go to wfanet.org/diversity.
Thanks for that. There have been a few comments, I think, in the chat saying that there tends to be quite some agreement with what you're saying. And I thought it was interesting that you say there's the business case. So not only is there a democratic case, but a human rights case, but on top of it, a win-win also for the economy. So that was an interesting point made. I'd like to give a bit of time to the questions coming from the participants, if that's okay. And then we can maybe have a last round of comments from the panelists. Does that sound good? Yeah. So we have a question in the Q&A from Jose. Thank you very much. Can you all see that? I'll read it out. To what extent do you think the toy sector affects children having these stereotypes compared to other sectors, such as textiles? Has the survey evaluated this? Now, in answer to your question, Jose, no, the survey targeted very specifically one sector of the industry, toys, because this was a political choice several years ago when we started running the campaign, and because really toys are very essential to early childhood. But it does not mean that we don't, of course, think of the myriad of other sectors that also have huge influences on shaping the way children think. And if you'll allow me to just put a poll out there to see how you feel about this. Beyond toys and advertising, what other sectors could boost diversity and equality thinking in early childhood? We've put but a few examples, and here there's multiple choice. I don't know if some of you are happy to start. Okay, the votes are coming in. So there's clothes, of course, textiles, like you say, books, video games, education products, hygiene products. What about toothbrushes, toothpaste? Home furniture like bed linen, bed covers, films. And then I think it was Hannah in the chat who mentioned arts and theatre. There's so much, right? Yeah, I gave you multiple choice, so probably choose all of them. But I think we just wanted to put it out there just to feed into the reflection that, of course, it's not just toys and advertising that's shaping the way children think. The family environment is, but also many other sectors. But we have to start somewhere in terms of the discussion. Okay, I'm reading some of the comments in the chat. Okay, I'm going to end the polling now, and here you go. So we've got quite a big majority for video games, has to be said. But I think there's consensus that there are quite a few other sectors that could do with more inclusive thinking or diverse thinking. So I just wanted to feed that in to the discussion because it comes, it's very linked also to what other participants have said. There was a comment about role models in adulthood. I think, Rebecca, you also mentioned, was it role models in TV and films? Or somebody mentioned it. So clearly there are, many other areas beyond the toy and advertising industries that shape early childhood thinking. Now, I just want to come back to a question from actually Mattel, who is here with us. Albert, did everybody see that one in the chat, or were we the only ones to see that? Okay, there's more comments coming in. Just let me get back to this one from Albert. So although it's very interesting to see the results, and although you already said this was not scientific, I would like to know your views on to what extent this survey is representative of the population's position. Why did you not take why did you take a representative sample? Okay, right, I'm trying to understand the full question. So the sample was beyond our control. So people spread the word themselves, we spread the word. And if you'll notice from the study, at least the first presentation of today, but you'll see the full study tomorrow, we really had a very diverse set of views out there. Views which are very much in line with COFACE and views which are really quite opposite to what COFACE believes. And so the study really is based on 2,000 plus respondents, indeed, the majority of women, indeed, mostly from 10 countries. But, we got many different views out there, and we built this into the survey to try and, I guess, respect the diversity of views out there. I think this is especially about getting the discussion going. But I don't know, Pasquale, if you want to come in on that question from Albert specifically.
Yes, I think if you have seen my presentation, it is difficult to find a robust sample because concerning toys and diversity, of course, we want to drive change on that, but it is normal as well that 85% of the respondents were women, as most women are now often responsible to do care and to take responsibilities. Moreover, if you have seen as well, we as well consider that not only the industry have responsibilities to drive change, but as well our families and society as well. So we are included as well as family organization in driving aware. And last but not least, we included a diverse kind of stories. So I think including much of the toy stories, and if you have seen on our social media and in the report tomorrow, out of the 25, most of them, some of them do not match our values. And some of our questions, some of the respondents did not ask. We clearly divided this. This is why we cross-tabulated below 46 years old and above 46 years old, and we mix it with gender and age to have a more accurate response of that. But it's difficult to find a robust sample because concerning toys and diversity, most of them who are willing to respond are parents, because most of them with toys are normally parents, and then there are women. But I think it gives, as Elizabeth just said, an accurate representation and a fair diversity of answers, as in any democratic society.
Thank you, Pascual. We have another question here from Diego, from Qualitate. Does the European Union have any tool to monitor the presence of sexism in toy advertising marketing? Statistical research about stereotypes, TV spots, toy catalogs? Not that I know of, but Rebecca, maybe you know more about this. I mean, we feel a bit lonely monitoring this European level, but maybe you might know something or not. I don't know.
I don't think the European Commission is actively monitoring this. What I can say is that there are, at national level, an increasing amount of national advertising standards bodies or advertising regulatory bodies that have integrated into their advertising codes, applying at national level rules on how you can make gender portrayals in ads and where they draw the line. So, for instance, they really want to tackle inappropriate body images and move away from really degrading sorts of marketing. And Sweden and France have been, and the UK as well, have had really good experiences. So I think it's more at national level that they are trying to address these advertising, these, let's say, these kind of campaigns that are not representative of the sector and that give advertising a bad name and effectively enforcing advertising rules at national level.
Okay, so it's more national standards that we're talking about, or national bodies. Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Isabel, do you want to share something from the chat?
Yeah, I see another comment that was very interesting. I mean, all of them are, but from Albert, he shared a good business case saying that our best-selling Barbie fashionista doll in 2019 was a black curvy Barbie doll, and 7 out of the 10 best-selling Barbie fashionista dolls were diverse. Our Barbie in a wheelchair was our best-selling Barbie fashionista in the UK. I mean, this is already a great example that it's really good for business, not only for society, as we have seen, but really also for businesses. And I think, Catherine, you want to come in here?
Yes, just to go on with that thought. Of course, that means that society is changing. It's a barometer of society, because in the end, the business case means that there is a demand by the consumers. A couple of years ago, when we were discussing this, when we were telling toy manufacturers to try and move away from the pink for the girls and the blue for the boys, they said, well, whenever I come up with a green kid's bicycle, the shop tells me they can't sell it. So they say a fantastic bicycle, but we need 100 in pink and 150 in blue, or they won't sell. So if there's no demand, it means, that and I think that is changing. I think society, it's a chicken and egg thing. And I think very, very slowly it is changing. I know that there's been some research about, and this is 6 years ago, 2014, I think, it was just in the UK, to know whether consumers were annoyed by the boy-girl division. And I remember, I didn't look it up again, but they were clearly not at all annoyed. And they were surprised why the question was asked, because surely that was the way of things. I don't think you would get that answer anymore. So I think things are changing, and hopefully it will be like a snowball effect, and we will end up in a much more positive place. But I think everything influences everything. It's not just sectors trying to sell things, it's, opinions that are ingrained in people, and they need to move away from that, and that will only happen with the younger generations. That's reflected in your survey. I think that's also why the younger generations, have different opinions to the older ones. It's education. You can't underestimate the peer influence, you know, from if kids come home from school, the impressions they come home with. And yeah, I mean, I know, I mean, even myself, I have a 5-year-old now, when he was about 5 months, and I'm very much against this boy-girl division. And I remember being given clothes from a friend who had a girl. So they were all pinkish. And I thought, it doesn't matter, you know, I don't make a difference. So I dressed him at 5 or 6 months in these, you know, girly clothes. And they weren't, it was just the color, basically. And I caught myself thinking that he actually looked more girlish, which just means that I'm biased, which I didn't think I was. It's ingrained in us. It really, really surprised me. But you know, my point was, you know, it's a snowball thing, and you know, it's a very good finding that there is a business case, because that means that society is changing.
And
I think, yeah, sorry.
No, it's just the respondents didn't seem to be annoyed. They just seemed to not find it useful, the division. But Rebecca, yes, and then maybe Annemie.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a chicken and egg and snowball effect. I think that, you know, when we talk about marketing as well, the view that we have at WFA is that marketing or even product development doesn't only respond to a consumer demand. Marketing actually also has the mission to create consumer demand and to steer consumer demand. So I think if we want to see a change in society, we can actually also start with marketing. We need to do work at many different levels, but marketing is definitely one of them. Because why do consumers want what they want? Probably also because of marketing. Marketing is one piece of the puzzle. So we believe that marketing shouldn't only be, you know, reflective of how society looks right now, because it's true that, you know, women buy more cleaning products and women clean more and cook more than men. That doesn't mean that we want all our ads to just portray women doing these things. So we want to be a force for actually portraying the world as we would want it to be and where we want to move. So that's what we mean by progressive gender portrayals. So we definitely think there's a role for marketing also to depict the society that we want to have, and not only the current status quo.
And there's one participant, Leva, who says, to sell toys, clothes, video games, they have one thing in common: advertising. So that's a fair point. Annemie, I think I'll give you the final word before we wrap up with Isabel.
I just wanted to comment on the role of media, that was crucial, and I'm happy to hear all the partners. And I just wanted to highlight that we, in another field, we had a successful campaign, Nutri-Media. I don't know if you're familiar with that action that we did. So we showcased that the impact of media on the nutritional behavior of children is enormous. And the investment also of the sector to promote certain food is also very enormous. So it is really crucial that we have advertisers together with us looking for more diversity. And I'm very happy to, not the closing words, but I'm very happy that we can start this discussion, and I hope we can continue the debate that we started today based on this survey and on other findings of the involvement, commitment of the sectors. And I'm very happy and I'm confident that we can bring change, drive change all together with the sector, with the toy industry, with the marketeers, with the European Commission. And I would like to give all of us some homework, if I may. Let's think what we can do personally to promote diversity. Whether we are a parent, a teacher, a policymaker, an advertiser, how can we promote equality? We don't need to rely on the actions that the sector are proposing, that the European Commission is presenting. We can promote equality as a mother, as a father, as a spouse, as a carer. And I would say nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. And equality starts at home. So let's move forward and drive change, and let's work together to promote the toys and the diversity. That would be my wish.
Thank you very much, Annemie. We have more messages coming in, and we have also some great suggestions. Look, Aria, I've noted yours. You know, would it be good to take these examples and try to find European standards? We actually have standardization agencies tuning in with us today as well. I mean, there are so many possibilities, I think, but we just need to keep the dialogue going, I think, and bridge building, because like you said, Annemie, it's a shared responsibility. I don't know, Isabel, do you want to close off, wrap up, and then we say goodbye to everybody?
Yes, first of all, thank you to all the panelists who were here today and shared their great knowledge with us, and also to all the participants who tuned in. Also, thank you to Wim for the closed caption and making this webinar a bit more accessible. Yes, and please continue this conversation online. We are happy when you use our Toys University hashtag, but of course also offline. Just stay in touch, and remember also tomorrow to check our website, because we will launch the full report, and you can see all the details that we extracted from the 2,000+ respondents. So
thank you very much to you and the participants, the panelists, Catherine, Rebecca for joining us as well, Pasquale for the presentation, and Annemie for the inspirational final words. So I guess this is it. Have a lovely evening wherever you are in Europe, and tune in to our website tomorrow to see the full study, and please share it. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.